I'm live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. This game kind of sucks, but I'm going to play it anyway. And I've
It
got,
sure is a video game.
yes, I've got Mikan with me, co-commentator. Hello, how you doing today?
Doing all right. I
All right,
wasn't expecting to do this morning, but this afternoon, this evening.
splendid.
But
Glad I could shake things up for you. All right, so
it's very nice.
3, 2, 1. Woo! I pressed time. I'm a genius.
It does. It does happen quite often, doesn't it? Now that you say that.
There's one cutscene that comes later on that kills me every time. So this tutorial fight is terrible because you can totally get critical hitting at any moment. Hits and miss. It's just, I don't know why they play it. I missed! How fun!
You only have to hit him 4 times, but
If you're lucky enough
when you're
to
miss,
crit, it's a 2-hit kill.
yeah, when your hit rate is like maybe 70-80%, you're gonna miss in this fight more often than you think.
Okay, that was very quick, but I did it. Oh, I'm not jumping. I had my finger on the wrong button. So here we get introduced to the forest area. It's all decrepit and dead-looking because some rude person named Thunderous Rex has stolen the crystal of Earth.
Yeah, and then here we're immediately getting our first partner too with Kaylee. Kaylee is a powerhouse and is actually really strong in this first area, and we're gonna have her for what, 2 fights?
3.
Oh yeah, there's 2 on the way, aren't there?
Yeah, there's 2 on the way, and then she kills them, and it's all. Also, fun little fact is I actually named my cat after Kaylee from this game.
You know, nice.
Yes. I was just a little kid. I think, oh gosh, how old would I have been? 5? I think I would have been 5 when I named her. I originally wanted to name her Phoebe after another partner that you meet later on, but I didn't because one of our family friends had a cat named Phoebe, and I wanted to be original.
I think they'd be a pretty good pair.
Yes. Okay, so first fight of this dungeon. These encounters are pretty straightforward. Kaylee can one-hit kill all of these enemies, and the main character, which is canonically named Benjamin, named Pingle. That might help.
So first boss of the run is actually extremely easy because all of your partners come with the revive spell because apparently Benjamin likes to die a lot.
Yep.
And luckily the boss is undead, so you cast life on it and it dies.
Actually, that boss wasn't even dead.
Oh, that's right, because life damages undead things, but cure
there's a flag to determine whether or not Cure and Life work on undead enemies, but they got it the wrong way around in the North American release. So you can use Life on non-undead enemies to kill them, but undead enemies will resist it.
That's right. And the life attacking enemies actually comes into play in a super late dungeon if you decide to go with that tactic. I'm not sure.
Oh,
But there's some pretty nasty enemies. Yeah, the Sphinxes.
Yes, I do go for that strat.
Good, because those guys are a pain in the butt unless you're lifing them to death.
Very much so. I actually have a split for that compared to... I watch a lot of other runners and they don't have a split for it, but there's a floor in that dungeon with 3 of them, and I've put a split there called Death Room, because it's the scariest room in the entire run.
That is the hellway of this game, yeah.
This game is incredibly RNG dependent, to the point where in one dungeon a boss will spawn on a completely random floor. And depending on which floor he spawns on, you can lose upwards of 11 minutes.
Seems like you might need to...
It's pretty straightforward. If these encounters will just spawn random enemies from 1 to 3, and if you get 3 enemies, you simply just run, because it takes 2 turns to kill, as opposed to 1. And I keep getting 3 enemies. There we go, got 1. Thank you.
I think they're asking for a mic bump a little bit more.
Yeah.
No, I know you're busy. It's fine.
I am busy. Come on, guys, speedrun.
It's Mystic Quest, whatever.
It's not a simple matter of going to OBS and just flicking the bar up, because it's already at max, and I've added a filter for mic gain. Tristan, stop it.
So yeah, just kind of going through the first dungeon here, the Bone Dungeon. Obviously, we'll be avoiding as many 3 enemy fights as much as we can, just running away from them. 2 is fine, because Tristan can take out 1 enemy, and then the bomb weapon we have is actually really strong against single enemies. You can't single target with the bomb, you always attack every enemy. So the less enemies there are, the damage doesn't get spread out. So typically you'll be able to take out a single enemy with 1 bomb, and that's why 1 or 2 enemies is preferable.
We will get an item later in this dungeon that's very vital since it's the success of the run, and once we've got the item, if we encounter 3 enemies, we'll be able to use that to perform a glitch, which we can do via some menuing shenanigans that I don't fully understand how it works. I don't think anyone fully understands how it works, or at least if they do, I haven't seen it written.
Those Minotaur zombies, actually Tristram cannot one-shot, so it was a good thing to have Tristram... You can perform the defend action, which makes the character who's defending take the full damage for your ally, which is super nice, and was actually used pretty good there against that zombie.
The main benefit... There's 2 extra benefits to using defend against the Minotaur zombies. For starters, that Minotaur zombie will always use confusion. Always. Regardless of any kind of prerequisite, it will always use confusion. So we want that on Tristan. But it also wastes Tristram's turn, because he can't one-shot them. What's the point in letting him attack? But in this encounter with the zombie and the salamander, Tristan will automatically target the salamander, because it's a guaranteed one-shot. And the Minotaur zombie will still use confusion, but he will always target Tristan.
Yeah, I guess it might be worth kind of talking about. You can change your ally from manual to auto-controlled. Your allies have something that they usually do for auto depending on what enemy types are in the battle. Or if you are below a certain percentage of health, they will try to heal you if they have a healing ability. But juggling between auto and manual is actually pretty intense in this game. You do it like almost every other fight, or depending on the enemy composition, you have to, on the fly, change it just like that.
Approaching the first boss here, our main strategy is actually to use the Cure spell, because it does bonus damage to flammable threats. Unfortunately, there is a problem with white magic. When used against enemies, it actually only has a 90% hit rate. So there is a 1 in 10 chance that our Cure spell is completely missing and us Tristan will be on heal duty a lot, just using his life spell.
Yeah, if you're dead, your partner will always revive you if they're on auto. And even if you die before your ally takes their turn, they will change whatever they would have been doing to the life spell to revive you. So they don't actually determine what they're doing until it's their turn. So it's actually super convenient.
Yeah. So here Tristan was at 33 health. I manually casted life on him, but Flameless Rex had sped him. So now Tristan's dead. This is a loss, and we're just gonna die. And just this game is very, very forgiving. If you die, it'll just let you restart the fight.
Yeah, you'll sometimes hear people call this like baby's first RPG or something, and this is a very good addition to that.
Starting things off with a crit. Nice job, Tristan.
Let's get a couple more of
Tristan
those.
can miss, sometimes he just criticals.
But yeah, you absolutely want to hope you land all of your cures, considering they do almost double the damage of Tristan's normal attacks. I guess we didn't talk about the seeds at the start. Well, we'll worry about that once we get into the Winter Cave or something.
Yeah, there's some backtracking to do after this boss.
Yeah, you really need to keep an eye on Tristan's health in this fight, because he won't, even though life completely restores your health to full and cures status effects, allies will not use it to heal at all unless you're actually dead. But it actually is the best healing spell, so if Tristan gets low, you just want to like, manually cast life on him. I just have... Uh-oh. Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, we got it. No, one hit. Come on, don't kill us. We're getting it.
Oh no.
Oh, yeah. Flameless Rex is actually kind of a brutal boss early game. He has very dangerous attacks and can give you really bad attack patterns. Like his Earthquake spell, for example, will always deal more than half damage to your main character, and it will deal a considerable amount of Tristan's as well.
Yeah, and if you have one of your characters dead and the enemy uses an attack that would hit both, like the Earthquake spell, it will do both instances of damage, or just like full damage to your one character, so it's actually really brutal.
Yeah, same as the bombs, where it will always spread, but if there's only one hit, it'll do more.
Yeah, the only real downside to the bombs is that they can't critical hit, but I think the assured hit, they also never miss, never crit, but I think the assured hit is much more valuable.
Yeah, there's a lot of fights in the game where your other weapons can actually do slightly more damage. It's still better to use the bombs because it's not that big of a damage loss, but you also just guarantee that your hits won't shoot. I actually ran out of cures there. Flameless Rex is dead. Woo!
Oh, wonderful.
So here we've got
Almost-
a cutscene that I can use to up my mic gain.
Oh yeah, let's see if that let's see if that works out. Almost every
Perfect.
single boss in this game, if not every single boss, has some sort of awful pattern that they can give you that you just can't avoid and will die.
Yeah, it's the worst. Alright, so Trixum gives us the elixir, which we need to be giving to Kaylee, who was poisoned by the Minotaur, and that will allow us to progress further in the game, because at the moment, even though we have the sand coin with which to unlock the door to the other areas, it won't let us go there until we talk to Kaylee. So in this moment of backtracking, I'm going to take some time to explain some things that have just happened in the Bone Dungeon. First of all, the items we picked up called the Seeds are quite possibly the most valuable items in the game. They will allow us to restore uses of our magic, because we don't have anything like mana or MP in this game. Instead, we have a set number of uses of each category of spells, and using Seeds will restore those uses. We only get 3, but thanks to a glitch that we didn't have to perform in the Bone Dungeon, we can actually duplicate those Seeds. And we're going to want to duplicate them twice, simply to make a few dungeons early game a lot easier.
Yeah,
And then
you
later
can
on
compare
in the
them to
run-
like spell charges from Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah. And then later on in the run, we'll never have to worry about Seeds ever again, because we're going to have an incredibly high amount of them.
That's an understatement.
Yes. So, going a little bit out of our way up here, we're just going to pick up the steel shield. We could have backtracked and got it before fighting the boss, but it's not worth it. The extra 5 defense doesn't help you survive the boss.
I believe that actually gives a small bit of speed too. Like, you wouldn't think a shield would give you speed, but I'm pretty sure that one does, and it actually helps out in the next dungeon for outspeeding some magician dudes that I don't think you otherwise would.
Yeah. You'll notice that just at the end of the bone dungeon, we actually opened a chest and picked up some cure potions. There is an order to our inventory, and there's an order to which we want to pick up our items that actually matters a very significant amount. If we were to have picked up those cure potions before picking up the seeds, we kind of would have screwed ourselves for a later glitch. But we'll get into that a lot later when it becomes prevalent.
Yeah, you don't want to mess up your usable item inventory, because the item chest route is pretty exact in this until you get up to that point. And even after that point, I think, at some point. Because you have the Thunder Rock thing.
Yeah, but that one's a lot simpler because we also set up our inventory in a way that makes that easier. So picking up some explosives, just real quick before we head up to the next area. Since bombs are going to be our main weapon, we're going to need to be picking up a fair few of them since they are consumable.
Yeah, we have 57 now, but by the time we leave this area, we'll probably have single digits.
Ideally, we'll have just over 10.
So here's Phoebe. She's going to be our second, I guess third partner. Tristan is a partner. He is a person, despite how awful he usually does.
Yes.
So Phoebe's much better.
Yes. You meet every different partner, and there are 4 of them. You have them with you twice, each of them twice at different points of the game. Am I going to get body blocked by this lady? No. That lady out front of Phoebe's house likes to sometimes step in your way, and then you have to jump over her. Yeah, she was nice to me. But yeah, you meet every partner twice in the game, and they're at different strengths every time. But both times you meet Tristan, he's pretty useless. So going into the Wintry Cave, personally, this is actually one of my favorite parts of the run. First off, we get a bad encounter, which we can use to duplicate one of our seeds, because we have to run anyway. We get another one, perfect. Now from here, we don't want any bad encounters.
Yeah, the way the suit duplication glitch works is that if your partner's set on manual, if you have your main character use a seed, back out of that menu, and then run away from the fight, you actually get 2 seeds back. So you can effectively dupe seeds as much as you want, and it's actually really ideal if you need to run away from an encounter anyway, so you might as well dupe a seed while you're doing it.
Yeah. You can do it with any consumable item like that you can use in battle, but it really doesn't matter for any of the other ones, just the seeds.
So a funny thing about the auto command for your ally here, if you have 3 enemies, even if they're all weak to the same thing, your partner won't use. You can single target or all target your magic in this game, but your partner will never all target magic the enemy group as long as there's like 2 of a different monster type, even if they're both weak to it. I'm pretty sure that's how it works.
Yeah, it depends on if the enemies are 2 different species. So this encounter, for example, perfect timing. Even though both the scorpions and the edgehogs are weak to fire, Phoebe will still manually cast fire on one of them. Even though we don't actually use magic in that fight from Phoebe. Once she gives us the cat claw weapon, her bow and arrow actually becomes a very good source of damage.
Oh yeah, I guess we kind of glossed over that one. Whenever we fell down that cliff earlier, Phoebe gave us her cat claw weapon. So now we have the claw class of weapons, which actually lets us scale dungeon walls in certain places, and it actually increases your magic by 5 points as long as you have it equipped.
I believe the first stage of the claw doesn't actually give that effect.
Is that bad?
These encounters are scary because of their confusion mechanic. Sometimes your main character will outspeed them and not get confused. Sometimes they'll all cast confusion on Phoebe and it doesn't matter. But sometimes they will confuse the main character and you can very well die here.
Yeah, ideally it'd be just the Phoebe Thunder and then your bombs. Even though there's 3 enemies and they're not doing much damage, it is just enough to take them out. But those confusions can really be a jerk.
And even though there's a landworm in this encounter, we still treat it the same way. Nice, okay. One of them managed to get confused.
Oh, on the 2 rent landworms, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. It's all coming back to me now.
It's just an extra little strategy for saving some of Phoebe's magic uses.
Yeah, it can change how many seeds that you would need to dupe optimally, I think, depending on if you pick up quick or not.
Yeah.
It's not really much use past this dungeon.
So Phoebe, your partners will always be at a set level, and I think the only reason for that is because the game simply couldn't handle tracking 2 characters' XP. But because she's at a set level, she also has a predetermined set amount of magic uses. She has 10 uses of fire and 5 uses of thunder, and through the whole dungeon I basically silently count them in my head. And now we've just used our last charge of thunder, so we will be using a seed on Phoebe, which will leave us with 3 thunders going into the boss, which is the ideal amount. It's exactly the amount that I want. So we need to use 1 thunder on this encounter, 1 thunder on the next encounter, 1 on the boss, and then we have 2 going into the next dungeon. And here we got Strike First.
Oh, nice. So Strike First is just a preemptive attack that you might recognize from other games.
So this boss, we start the first turn just by using thunder and bombs to take out his little lackeys on the side. And then we're going to switch to just manually attacking with Phoebe, because her bows do a really good amount of damage on this, and she has the chance to get a critical hit. The main character's damage output here is kind of irrelevant. If he can live the whole way through, then it's, you know, bonus damage and it's great. But even if he dies, the boss can't do all that much damage to Phoebe, and there's a good chance he'll use this drain attack, which will heal Phoebe and deal some damage to him, because of a glitch that's set up outside of the run itself. If you want to try to explain the resistance glitch.
Oh, that's such a good segue. It was like made for this moment. So, this game has really yeah. Like, did you live on 2 health?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. So, the resistance glitch in this game is a really funny thing. Whenever you lose a partner and get a new one, it doesn't update their resistances from like their armor and stuff. So like, you know, fire resistant, water resistant. It doesn't update those unless you reload the game, like save the game, exit, and then come back. It never updates your partner's resistances. So speedruns of this game are done with your partners all having the resistances of the second Phoebe that you get much later in the game. And they're some pretty sweet resistances, honestly.
Yeah, we accomplished that by simply playing on a save file up until the end of the game, saving, and then restarting the game and starting our new files from there.
Yeah, and so as long as you never save and exit, your partner will always have these good resistances. I believe they actually get some stat boosts as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do, but I don't know for sure. So now that we've got the Libra Crest, which was the item we delved into that dungeon to get, we can now teleport on these little symbol pads, the Libra Crests. And there are a few different ones that require different items to go on, but one of them is going to be completely irrelevant to us, and we will never see it.
Yeah, so here we're supposed to get this Water of Life to help unthaw, or help unfreeze her town. So we go beat up this old man and take his water. So then we're going to go back to the town to see if the water that we just extorted from this guy is actually indeed going to save the town. And spoilers, it doesn't.
Little auto walk segment. I can take my hand off the controller for a little bit. During attempts of this, I like to use that little segment to take a sip of a drink. You gotta take every little moment you can get in this run, because it's long.
Why is Spencer's Palace so incredibly long?
I'm not sure. This is my favorite dungeon in the entire game. And it is always so very disappointing to me how short it is.
It has a pretty clever little block pushing puzzle, and indeed,
Oh crap.
you can skip one of them.
I forgot I was at 2 health, so Phoebe auto-healed me.
Oh no. So yeah, if you're below half health, your partners that have a cure spell will cure you.
Oh well, I needed to heal anyway. And so,
yeah.
the way I've planned my spell usage, there are 2 encounters in this dungeon that we use Thunder on, and we have 2 left, and then we'll use a Seed before the boss and be using Thunders on the boss.
So yeah, this dungeon's a little back and forth with slaying enemies, so you can get extra little push blocks to use as platforms, and with a little bit of clever use, you can just skip one of those completely. And it's like the only kind of skip in this game, other than, you know, skipping a quarter of the game, I guess. That's gonna come a little later.
We do skip one fight in Bone Dungeon from just jumping around it.
Oh yeah.
Because it's just not put in a good spot. Okay, and with that we've killed everything here, barring the boss. So, so now we just have to push all these blocks into a configuration where we can jump across them to get to the boss. And by placing them in this way, we can actually skip a fight that they intended for us to do. They just didn't appear to fully recognize how many different paths that you could take with these blocks, and thought that they had given us one option. See, you can see the penguin to the right there that we're supposed to fight. There's the boss, but we're going to quickly take a little detour to pick up Heal, which is a status condition healing spell. Before we fight Snow Crab, this boss kind of sucks.
Yeah, this boss can be kind of a real jerk. He's got a pretty nasty cold attack, which we do not have resistance to yet. And his something scissor attack, I think, can do a pretty hefty chunk as well.
Yeah. You'll also see I switched to the axe because he is actually weak to the axe attack, and there is the chance that we get a critical hit. But we're getting really unlucky with our attack pattern. Even though we can potentially critical, Phoebe's still our main damage dealer. And he's just confused Phoebe, and Phoebe might just let rip a fire on the group as she just did.
Oh no. Yeah, this is probably the reason to get the heal spell if you want to bother trying to cure it, I think.
Yeah, I generally don't bother anyway. So I'm going to leave Phoebe on auto because, as you can see, both allies were at half health. And in that case, Phoebe, or any partner with a cure spell, will automatically cast heal or cure on both party members.
Yeah, it's split healing, just like it would be for splitting damage on enemies, but usually the heal amount is enough to top you both off anyway.
So we've killed the boss, and we actually have 2 uses of Thunder left, which is very good. Generally, I try to have at least 1 Thunder left going into the Ice Pyramid.
Yeah, the start of that looked a little dicey, but I think we got cleaned up pretty nice.
Yeah.
We also picked up the Jumbo Bomb in the little cutscene there. Phoebe was kind of holding out on us. She had upgraded bombs the whole time. So now our bombs are actually just a little bit stronger.
Yeah. And that will help us a lot. And the gimmick of this dungeon is that the on-screen enemies are actually completely invisible. There is an item we can pick up in the dungeon to make them visible, but whoops! I just accidentally single targeted a thunder spell. But we can completely skip that item because it's out of our way, and we're speedrunners. We memorize things, so we know the entire layout of this dungeon. We know where all the enemies are. We don't need no mirror. But in 100%, you'd go and get the mirror anyway because it's an item that we pick up to complete our collection.
I think that little square right there is the only place that you would maybe run into an extra enemy if you don't have the mirror, because there's like some on the corners that your pathing might run right into them, while all the other ones I think in the speedrun are just on the path.
Yeah. So we're now out of thunders, and the next encounter can either give us an encounter where we can use fire or use thunder. I'm gonna risk it and go into it not using a seed, hoping that it gives me the fire encounter. It did not. Because ideally, I'd like to hold out on using using a seed right away. But if I get it one more time, I will use a seed. Ooh, lucky.
Mage enemies cast Cure, so if you don't take them out on like the first turn or before they even take their turn, they'll just heal themselves and then you're back to square one.
Yeah. And so now we've used a seed on... They're weak to fire, and on their encounters they have a chance to spawn with a Lamia, and in that case we'd need to use Thunder, because that's the only way to take out the Lamia. And they can be putting us to sleep, which we do not want.
Yeah, sleep's pretty awful. You don't get your turn, and I think physical attacks do extra damage, is that right? And do magic attacks even wake you up at all?
I'm pretty sure taking any damage will wake you up.
Okay, I might have been confusing.
So this mage was actually really annoying and used Cure. So we're just going to defend with Phoebe and use a bomb to save on her magic uses. Because if we'd left her on auto, she would have used single target fire on it, which is a complete waste. So here's a Sphinx, which, very scary enemy. Our strategy is to just use life on it, because it's the only way we can kill it in one hit. But we do have to deal with the potential 10% chance of missing.
Yeah, those guys have a confused attack as well, I think.
Confusion, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty big butts, and they're actually pretty fast as well.
Yeah, it's why it's good to be using life with Phoebe, because your partners are always at a much higher level to you, so they have very good speed stats. Stony Roost can also be quite a scary encounter because they can give a status ailment called Petrification, which is essentially a pseudo-death, in which if you are petrified and your other partner dies, it is counted as a loss, but it can be cured with the heal spell.
Yeah, Petrify is actually the one important resistance that the resistance glitch does not give you. I think the second Kaylee has Petrify resistance, but the second Phoebe does not. So
Correct.
While we have a bunch of useful stuff, that instant death specifically is not one of them.
So these gather enemies, the giant eyeballs, are weak to bombs, which works out very well for us. Phoebe has been blinded, which kind of sucks, but fun fact about the blind status ailment, it does not affect magical accuracy in the slightest. So for the most part, we can kind of leave Phoebe blind, because she won't really be using her bow that much in this dungeon.
Yeah, since bombs never miss, it also really doesn't affect them at all either. You just kind of close your eyes and throw it behind you or something. I say behind you because I love The
Yeah.
animation for being blind is just turning around.
Yeah. Well, you can't see your eyes. How would you know you're blind? I'm gonna have to be manually casting fire though, because she will manually heal herself of blindness. I just used the wrong weapon. My bad.
Oh, the steel sword, nice.
I had it out from stabbing the thing, but now since I have to waste a turn with Phoebe, I'm gonna put her in auto to heal.
Yeah, all of the weapons have an overworld usage as well as their specific niches in battle, as weird as they might be sometimes. The swords is of course poking statues, because what else would you do with a sword?
I don't know. That's what I use my swords for. I think the way that works is like the button on the statues is just so high up that you can't reach it without the sword.
Yeah, that's what I would figure. I guess it's just a little silly.
Yeah. You could. I mean, I'm willing to bet you could easily just throw a bomb and that would hit the switch.
Now, do these gather enemies reflect magic?
I believe they do, but I've never tried.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. There's just bombs are just a much better option.
Yeah, there are certain enemies in the game, as well as certain bosses, that can actually reflect your spells back at you with amplified damage. So, those encounters can be very scary, because when you get later on in the game, magic damage is pretty much entirely what you use for every encounter. So if you're not careful and you mess up your menu, you could just very well die. And it's your own fault. I'm getting
Or
really lucky
sometimes-
with these Stony Roost encounters, and they're not spawning with mages like they can, and heal after being hit by bombs. Little moment of silence there. The music in this game is incredible. This game gets a lot of negative attention because of mainly its backstory, the reason why it was created, and how easy it is. But the music, the soundtrack, has always been spectacular.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, and I've never heard of anyone who would disagree with that, actually. Ooh, it's nasty.
Oh, the gathers do not reflect magic, I forgot. They
okay.
spawn with the Sphinx and you use thunder on them.
Oh, there you go.
But as you progress further in the game, you'll find stronger versions of enemies you've seen before, and they'll have like extra effects. So like the super-powered version of the Gather, which I think is called the Beholder,
Yes.
they can reflect magic.
So we picked up those heal potions right there, and they're actually super important to pick up at this specific moment, because we
Yeah.
need them in our inventory slot after the refreshers that we picked up at the start of the dungeon.
Yeah, the way the inventory works in this game is there's a set spot in your inventory for every key item, but the first 4 slots in your inventory are reserved for consumables, and they will not go into their own set slots. They will instead go in the order that you picked them up for the first time in. So the order that we've picked them up in is the seeds will be in the first slot, second slot will be the cure potions, the third slot is the refreshers, and the fourth slot is the heal potions. Every single item is in a spot completely on purpose, and it will come into effect for 2 different glitches that we'll be doing at 2 different points of the run.
So when we were first in this room here, there's no rails in this room, by the way, you can just hop off. We immediately went up and jumped down, and then did some fight and picked up the noble armor, which actually gives us water resistance. And while I guess it's optional, it's so insanely useful that you would never skip it. It turns like 600 damage hits into what, 150, 200 something or something. It's just you'd be pretty silly not to get that, I think.
Yeah, it's very, very important for the boss coming up. And as you can see, these gathers actually have a self-destruct ability. This fight's not going well. Okay, so I can kill with the bow, but I'm actually gonna... Never mind. I was gonna say I'm gonna put Phoebe on auto to have her heal, but I forgot, and she got petrified.
Oh, well, yeah.
So I'm
Most
gonna go...
status effects will actually
I'm gonna go into
heal
the
themselves.
menu now, so that I can heal Phoebe, heal Pingu, and also check my spells, because I haven't been counting in my head. We actually have 3 uses of Thunder left, which is actually ridiculous.
Oh, wow.
More often than not, I'm lucky to have 1 use of Thunder left at this point. But I think we're still 1 Thunder usage short, so we're still going to have to use a Seed. So here we pick up the Night Sword, which is an upgrade for the Steel Sword that we had. It ups its damage, but that's kind of irrelevant to us. What we want it for is the speed boost that it gives while we are holding it as our selected item.
Yeah, you don't really get any other benefits for having it out other than the speed, but that's actually super important considering a spell we'll be getting shortly after the completion of this dungeon.
So we've got, I think, 2 fights left before the boss, and we've only got 1 use of Thunder left, so we are still going to have to use a Seed, unfortunately.
I saw the boss hanging out up there, but if you go talk to him, he just kind of laughs at you and teleports away. You don't have to give him the satisfaction of that, you can just go right around him.
Yeah. So even without talking to him, he'll still spawn in his predetermined spot. So, as you'll see, we just used our last Seed, and that actually made the item completely disappear from our inventory. So that slot in our inventory has been completely freed up, which is vital to the upcoming glitch after this dungeon.
Right, and it is boss time.
Yeah,
This guy is kind of a jerk. Shouldn't be too bad though.
This boss can also be somewhat of a toughie, but not quite as much as Flamorous Rex, I find.
He has a pretty hard-hitting ice attack that will, well, you know, do a lot of damage. You can physically attack Phoebe, which she isn't resistant to. And, funny enough, if you have Phoebe on auto, she casts Thunder in this fight, doesn't she?
She can't. She switches between using Fire, Thunder, and her bow on auto in this fight.
Wonderful.
So
even
though Fire does the most damage, we keep her on manual just because she sometimes doesn't use it.
Yeah, for healing, you can pretty much just swap to auto anytime you need it because, you know, once you're below half health, your partner will always heal if on auto, and you really don't need to manually heal unless both characters happen to be below a certain threshold.
So here he's just killed the main character, but because we switched Phoebe to auto and he outsped Phoebe, Phoebe switched whatever she would have done naturally to using life. It is not predetermined once you hit attack on what she will actually do.
So whenever the Snow Golem gets low on health here, he's going to start spamming this ice attack that hits both characters and heals himself. It's kind of annoying and just kind of prolongs the ending of the fight, but it's not all that dangerous. It doesn't do that much damage. There we go. That wasn't too bad at all.
Yeah, good fight. And you'll notice that despite the resistance glitch we talked about earlier, the drain spell that he does doesn't actually get affected by that.
Yeah, the resistance glitch actually does have... There is a drain resistance, and it kind of makes you drain from the enemy instead. But that attack isn't really a drain, it's just a damage and heal himself, I guess.
Yeah, it's not classified as a drain ability. And as you can see, we have the perfect 10 bombs. Which
you need exactly 10 bombs
exactly
after this,
10 bombs, which is what we need for the battlefield coming up. On the map, you will have noticed little tiles called battlefields that we've been skipping over and not going into. These are optional optional tiles that have 10 battles in them, and when you clear them, you get a special prize. Most of them are pretty useless, like XP or a small amount of gold, which we never have to worry about in the run, but very few select ones will give some equipment, and I think there are 2 of them that give spells. And the one that we've just unlocked from clearing this dungeon gives us an incredibly useful spell, which will allow us to instant kill a lot of enemies and never have to backtrack again. And it just so happens that we needed 1 bomb for each fight, and we have 10. If we did have less than 10, that chest right there, next to the open chest, has 10 bombs in it.
We saved like 3 steps.
Yeah, save the frames.
You know, every time you jump, you lose a frame. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So
I can't believe it. It's so much fun just to jump around, because what kind of RPG can you jump in?
And this battlefield has 2 different fights, and if you get this fight, you just want to run, because we can't kill it with 1 bomb. And that's where you can lose a lot of time on this battlefield, by just getting the bad encounter.
Yeah, it's either 1 squid or a squid and a sphinx, and if you get the squid and the sphinx, you're probably going to get ambushed and attacked, and then you have to run away. But if it's just a squid, you're going to bomb it and be done with it. I want to say the average is like 3 or 4 sphinxes, though I think my record's about 14.
Yeah, my record's about 11, I think. There's also a small chance for when you get just the squid on its own that it will still ambush you, or it will just outspeed you. So if you're really unlucky like I am a lot of the times, you can get hit twice by the squid before you actually get to throw your bomb.
Yeah, luckily most of the time it just zaps you with this 1 damage thing, so dying isn't really a concern here.
Yeah. So there I got ambushed. Well, it's called Unexpected Attack, and here he's used Sucker Punch on me, which is his drain ability. But he's at full health, so it doesn't heal him. Or actually no, I think the weaker version of this squid doesn't have that as a drain, it's just a damaging move.
Yeah, to answer a question in chat, the overworld sprite you see on the enemy will always show up in the fight, but there's a couple different enemy configurations that it can actually end up being, which is why you have to know at a glance if do I need to swap between manual and auto, and then where am I in my menu, what spell do I have to menu to. Menuing in this game is like super fast. There's 0 downtime. There's like no lag between you being able to move around the menu and select things. So it's really just as fast as you can go.
Yeah. There's also menu memory, where the game will remember where you were in the menu in the previous fight, and it will put you there for either the next fight you're in or the next time like you switch your partner from auto to manual. So if you manually cast a spell with a partner and then put them in auto for a while, the next time you switch them to manual, it will still remember where your cursor was. And so there we've cleared the battlefield and gotten the exit spell, which we can use to teleport out of any dungeon back to the entrance from which we entered it in. So things like the focus tower, for example, which has multiple entrances, we cast exit, it'll put us back to the one we entered from. And we had to go in through the back way there to push a block in place for us to jump across, enter the next area. And I hope you like earthquakes, because we're about to be seeing a few of them.
Yeah, the fire area is under a bit of a little earthquake problem, and we totally are not solving it for them.
Yeah, we're a bad hero. We're actually not going to fix their earthquake problem. So I apologize to anyone who actually really likes Firebug, because we're actually about to completely skip it, thanks to one small little inventory glitch.
A small inventory glitch that we have been setting up this entire run, making sure our items are in the exact spots that they need to be in.
So the important part about Firebug, which is the town we're going to go into, is there's an NPC we can buy seeds from. But the issue with shops in this game is when choosing the amount of things to buy, the game doesn't stop you from buying 0 of those items. And an interesting effect happens when you don't have any of them in your inventory, is it will put a stack of 0 in your inventory, and when you use them, it underflows down to about 255, and also corrupts some of our inventory. So if we now buy 19 cure potions, there's nowhere for them to go in our inventory, so it will put them in random slots, and we now have the key to the next area.
Just like that, we have both the fire and the sun coins. I don't know if it's called the fire coin.
It's the sun coin and the sky coin.
Oh, that's it, yeah. And those are the required items needed to unlock the doors in the focus tower to the next area. So that was just a quarter of the game. We just kind of skipped over there.
Slight movement issue.
Nice.
Sometimes it's hard to turn around before jumping.
It's just fun to jump. I don't blame you.
I just wanted to sacrifice some frames, you know. RNG.
So, a small side effect of not clearing the Fireberg area is that this area, the clouds are going to be kind of obscuring the vision.
Yeah, unfortunately, we'll never actually get to really see the wind area. We're also at an incredibly low level now.
Yeah. While it is the wind area, the wind is apparently not strong enough to blow the clouds out of the screen.
And now we have the exit spell. We can just use it to... Never mind, we missed. And now we've been petrified. So there's a death.
Yeah, this fight, if you don't have exit for this fight, it is, like, unwinnable.
This fight can also completely troll you, because as you've just seen, he can petrify you. He can also put you to sleep. And exit, unfortunately, is white magic, so it has the 10% chance of missing.
Yeah.
Another side effect of using exit to kill an enemy is you don't get any XP from that enemy.
You may have noticed Ruben kind of jumping out of us there.
Yeah, we never actually met Ruben. He was meant to be our partner for the fire area, and we're meant to say goodbye to him there. But even though we never met him and never had him, the game still runs that cutscene as if we did. And so now we've got Tristram for the second time, and this is where you can really see just how useless he is.
So Tristram, he can one-shot these specters, right? Yeah, it takes him 3 attacks to take out these mummies.
Yeah.
This is when Exit's really going to shine, especially with the Night Sword, since Night Sword improves your speed, and we don't really need the damage because we're just instant killing things with Exit.
Yeah, in fact, Tristram is so useless that his entire role in the fights with the mummies is just to defend Pingu. Newt Newt. So now we're just going to heal Tristram because he's our meat shield, and we want him to be alive.
He's got a lot of health, wow.
It's the only thing good about him. And so here we've got a two Spectre fight, which is really good. Unfortunately, the Spectres can duplicate themselves and spawn another copy of them at whatever health they had at the time. But even in that configuration, we fought 2 Spectres. If there are 2 Spectres on that screen, they cannot duplicate to create a third one, even though there's a maximum of 3 enemies on that screen. And that's because in that configuration, there's a maximum of 2. The game will not shuffle them around.
Yeah, it won't like push them out of the way and make it in the center or something like that. It is pretty convenient.
And here we see Tristram's been petrified, just like him.
Oh, no. Unfortunately, that does make your character the main focus of all the attacks, and as we talked about earlier, enemies that can hit both players at once, that will count as hitting the one player twice, and will do the full damage, even if your allies petrify.
Yeah, because your petrified ally still counts as being dead, so multi-hitting attacks will not hit them. And so that is all we use Tristram for. Now we're gonna go back to Aquaria so we can meet a man named Spencer, and then we get to say goodbye to Tristram again. He doesn't get much screen time, poor guy.
I'm fine with that.
At least he gets more than Ruben.
Ruben gets like what, 5 fights or so?
Yeah, that sounds about right. And he doesn't do much in those fights either.
Yeah, just the meat shield.
He does have white. It's a very good spell.
It is pretty good, yeah.
So now we actually get to go down Spencer's place, which is completely inaccessible when you haven't beaten the Ice Golem. You're actually meant to come here at several different points in your journey, but this is actually the last time that we have to come here, at least from this direction, because the cutscene we're about to trigger is actually the final Spencer cutscene. And this is my favorite cutscene in the game because it perfectly demonstrates this game's inability to move two characters at once in a cutscene. It's funny as all hell. And here we also get, in my opinion, the coolest weapon in the game. Tristan will give it to us.
Yeah, it's gonna be the treasure that he kind of stole after the Bone Dragon. He's finally nice enough, I guess, to give it to us.
So I'm actually a little bit worried because in a recent attempt that I did of this game, my game actually crashed after leaving here.
Okay.
Where I left the room, I went to cast exit and my game crashed, so I'm really hoping that doesn't happen again.
Phoebe's really mad that her grandpa left, so being the genius she is, she throws a bomb that she promptly runs the heck away from at Mach speed, and then the tunnel closes up.
Okay, no crash. So we use exit, but we then go straight back into Aquaria, because now if we go to Phoebe's house, Kaylee will be here, and we can recruit her for the second time. And you thought she was good before. She is very strong now. She's got an incredibly powerful axe, which I'm jealous of because we're actually not going to be picking it up. We can get it for ourselves in a chest in the Alive Forest, but it's out of our way and we don't need it.
Yeah, she only has one attacking spell. She gained one attacking spell, but it is like the best one, and it just happens to be right before a place where, like, probably the vast majority of enemies are weak to it.
Yeah, she has Arrow, which is another black magic, and we can get it ourselves. In fact, we're just about to get it ourselves. You'll notice I walk past that staircase. I'm going to be exiting the focus tower from this direction and immediately going back in to go down that staircase. And I do that because we want to set our exit point so that as soon as we acquire the spell, we can just use exit to go to exactly where we need to go. And actually, going down here, you get a small little glimpse of the last dungeon in the game. Because this room is actually part of it for some reason. I don't know why they did that. That's so odd. Oh, I'm out of exit. That's awkward.
Oh no.
So I'll just run real
really
quick and use a seed. We also, even though the number displays 99 on our seed count, we actually have over 250. The game just can't display that.
Oh, I feel like it just instills like a really foreboding feeling here. Just catching a glimpse of this last dungeon with its unique music. Like, whoa, where the heck is this? Where am I?
Yeah. So there we pick up Arrow. Very, very powerful spell. Very useful for all the upcoming dungeons. In fact, it's where we'll start to see our damage output slowly start to creep on the side of magic rather than bombs and other weapons. Not quite yet, though. Not for every encounter, at least. So these encounters are now different because, unlike Tristan, Kaylee is not completely useless and can kill these mummies. And now with Arrow, we can as well. Even though we can still use Exit to kill them, Exit has the 10% chance to miss. So it's still somewhat better to be using Arrow. And now there's only 2 of them left. Kaylee can actually kill both with a multicast.
Yeah, you can have Kaylee cast it on all 3 enemies, but it won't take all 3 enemies out. You have to rely on your main character staying alive and casting theirs, and it would be faster to do them all in the first round, but there's a huge risk in just hoping
it's incredibly
that your guy
risky.
stays alive.
And level actually matters a lot for that. You'll notice we just hit level 12. That will allow us to have a better chance of outspeeding the mummies and allow us to go for some riskier strats. I'm still not going to be going for them, however, because this is a marathon and I don't want to be too risky.
Yeah, that's fine. Typically the time you'd lose from, dying is enough to kind of steer you away from doing it.
Yeah, especially in a lot later fights where they take a lot of turns, specifically
Now,
bosses.
I think there's a specific level where Benjamin can take out 2 mummies with 1 cast if they have the Dragon Claw on. Is that level 12?
Actually that is level 12, but that generally doesn't come into effect because we have Kaylee. And Kaylee outspeeds anyway, so it's kind of just not worth going for.
Right. I was just wondering about this 2 mummy config, but I guess the mummies would go before Bin anyway.
Yeah. So
So
here
it's
we've been
probably-
petrified, which is just great, but Kaylee can still take these guys out with no problem. And there are a fair few different status effects in the game, and certain ones will be removed after a battle. Some won't, but some will.
I think like blind and poison stay, but that might be about it.
Blind and poison, I think, are the ones that stay. Paralysis, confusion, sleep, and petrification will go. And for some reason, this dungeon kind of screws with Kaylee's AI sometimes. Even though Kaylee's axe attack is strong against these tree enemies and will one-shot, she will still sometimes, very rarely, use arrow. And in fact, it's in this dungeon that we'll meet the spell-reflecting slimes, and she will still, on auto, sometimes cast arrow at them.
Yeah, eating reflected damage is not something you want to do.
It's a very low chance, it really doesn't happen all that often, but it can. And it's brutal. This is probably actually my favorite dungeon in the entire run. Yeah, mainly because it's got one of my favorite tracks on it, and it's also really long.
It's pretty soothing, I gotta say. The music is pretty soothing.
There's
I
also,
gotta tell you,
there's also a lot going on in general.
yeah. Commentating for this part of the race, when I was doing the commentary for the tournament, man, it felt kind of really boring sometimes. Just because this part is just, I don't know.
It is very long, but
We're gonna
think
be in here
from-
like, what, 20 minutes?
yeah, if you were to look at, if I had my splits, and you were able to see my splits, the previous split was for acquiring exit, and from getting exit to clearing this dungeon, it's about, yeah, a 20-minute split.
But I do agree with playing it, it's completely different because there's a lot of item switching and remembering where the grapple pegs are, and
Yeah.
then
And there's also,
gambling your
like,
life on slimes.
with these worm enemies, there's a lot of different configurations which actually require different strategies. For instance, if we're fortunate enough to be getting the 2 worms, we can just multicast arrow and it's no problem. But if there's 3 of them, then we're going to be attacking with Kaylee and using exit with the main character, just because it's a lot less riskier. There's less enemies on screen to be using less attacks, and these guys have brutal attacks. They have fireballs, which deal very high damage. They have Quake, which is a spread move, and I personally hate just because it has a really long animation.
Yeah, these guys have a lot of long animations on their attacks. It kind of stinks to have to 2-round these guys, but it's very much safer to do so.
Yeah, and also depending on the room of the dungeon you're in, they can also have a third configuration where they spawn alongside a slime. But that does not happen in this room. It will happen in the next room, however. So then they go from having 2 possible configs to 3, and then it becomes even less likely to get the two worms.
Yeah, the slimes that are coming up are big jerks, like we mentioned before. They do reflect magic, and it takes Kaylee 2 melee attacks to take one out.
Yeah. The strategy
They are
I go for these slimes is to actually equip the Dragon Claw and melee attack them, because there's a very slight chance of the Dragon Claw actually instantly killing anything it hits. The Dragon Claw inflicts a lot of status ailments, and... Ooh, and you see there, it used Drain on Kaylee, and that actually allowed us to kill it in 1 hit rather than 2.
It crit itself.
That's actually so hype if that happens, because it's so uncommon. Like, especially later when we fight multiple of these slimes at once, we can kill them in 1 turn if we're lucky enough.
Yeah,
They
they're weak
both
to
use Drain
bombs,
on
but
Kaylee.
even if they're weak to bombs, but even if there's 2 enemies, the it did it again.
Yeah. Damn, this is good. I never get this in my actual attempts.
Oh man, even if there's 2 enemies, even though they're weak to bombs, the bombs still won't take both of them out. They are pretty annoying to deal with, so I agree with Dragon Claw being a
Yeah.
good way.
And also, we leave Kaylee on auto for the fights with the multiple slimes, just because she'll manually attack them. But as I said, it is entirely possible for her to just randomly use arrow on them. And here we see Kaylee's arrow didn't actually kill these 2 slimes, and that's because the slimes have a magic reducing attack that I didn't notice that they'd used, unfortunately. So Kaylee's arrow just didn't do enough damage to kill 2.
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
Oh yeah, you're gonna see a lot of new things with me.
Oh, wow.
I have very bad luck in this game.
The only damage reducing thing I've ever felt like was a thing is that the specters in the forest can attack Drain Tristram, and then suddenly he can't one-shot them.
Yeah, just to make Trista even slightly more pathetic than he already was.
Oh man, you know the cool claw strat on that wall there.
Yeah, where you just drop down immediately. Claw
Have to
walls
actually go to
are
pegs.
weird, where sometimes you can grip them even though they have no little grip pegs on them, but you can't climb, so you'll just fall immediately off it. No, I don't want to attack, whoops. Bit of slow menuing there, but it was worth it to not accidentally use the wrong strategy. Okay, so Kaylee can kill this thing with an auto attack, but I'm actually just going to put her on auto and heal, just so we're not at half health, but then he used Fireball and put us back to half health anyway, so thanks.
Gosh, that fireball does so much damage.
It really does.
It reminds me of the Quake spells from the mages in Pazuzu's Tower. Those guys do a lot of damage.
So I'm actually going to heal before these fights, because these frog enemies can induce paralysis, and that can be pretty brutal. I think they also have petrification, but I don't see it all that often.
I want to say you're right, they really do. So I guess a subtle thing to note is that exit happens to be the first spell in your menu when you open the menu. So if you want to use like a cure spell with your main character, you gotta really hope you didn't accidentally select exit, or else you are out of the dungeon.
Yeah, we talked about this before we went live with this run, as I was telling the story how I was in the very last dungeon of the game, fighting one of the last fights. And it wasn't on a good run. If it was on a good run, I would have been significantly more upset. Where I went to heal after beating the boss and just accidentally casted exit. And that resets the dungeon.
Oh yeah, it doesn't just take you out of the dungeon, it absolutely makes everything appear again.
I actually didn't go back in to check. Does it respawn the bosses as well?
You know, I'm not sure. I bet they stay dead.
They probably do, but just the regular fights themselves take a long time. Especially on one floor in particular. Every single encounter there can kill you. That might be the true death room, actually.
Alright, just about done, I think. Got, what, 3 encounters left?
No, not even close.
Oh, I'm completely skipping a floor.
You're skipping the whole spiral shenanigans.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have to go
I
in
am.
and out of different rooms. Yeah, this. With the slimes.
Yeah, because there's slimes every heckin' where.
So these are the slimes. These are the dreaded slimes. They only spawn with 2 of them, so we attack with the bomb and have Kaylee auto, and she will use her axe. But if we're unlucky, she'll just use arrow. But, so the bomb will kill the slime that Kaylee attacked, but won't kill the other one. If we're lucky enough, the slime that Kaylee attacks will use Drain on Kaylee, and then die, so that the bomb will be a one-hit, and then we win in 1 turn. It's very, very infrequent, doesn't happen all that often. I think I'm lucky to get it once in any given attempt, but it's pretty amazing if it does, because these fights can be big risks.
I mean, the drain thing already happened twice, so who knows?
Yeah, but not really when it mattered, though.
Right. So these Scourger enemies are kind of jerks. They have an instant death, which stinks. Other than that, I don't think they're too bad, but if you give them a chance, they will use it.
Yeah, late game enemies in this game just really like their instant death attacks. Namely Doom Dance. A lot of them just have Doom Dance. Which, in most cases, if it hits your party member, you're just dead because you don't have life. We skipped the dungeon where we acquire the revive spell.
Funny enough, I guess we talked about status effects that got cured after a battle. Death is one of them.
Death is one of
totally
them.
cured.
If you die and then finish a battle, the dead ally will come back with 1 HP. But I guess I just don't really think of that as a status effect. I guess it is.
I think it did throw me kind of a loop how the heal and cure spell names are swapped what they are in traditional other RPGs.
Yeah.
Like the heal is a status cure, and the cure is the health cure. I don't know, this is the only game where I've seen that actually be the case.
There's actually one small inconsistency with the life spell that always annoys me, is that if you use life in battle, it will restore health and status ailments, but if you use it in the overworld, it will only restore health. Whoops, I've just used arrow.
Pretty annoying. Uh-oh.
Well, just consider it a demonstration of the spell reflect. Because we're still actually going to kill. I planned that.
180.
I planned that. I had to heal anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Or you just wanted her to use the double heal.
Sure.
Oh, well, you did in the menu. Big deal, whatever.
Hey, listen, there's not... Let's just all pretend that didn't happen, okay? Let's all agree it didn't happen.
Nice double drain miss there. That could have been a really great turn.
Yeah, these slimes don't mess around.
Well, 15. There's a very small benefit of being 16 before the boss of this plays, but I don't know if it happens that often.
I don't think I've ever honestly paid attention to my level going into the boss here. I don't know if it matters or not, it might.
I'll explain it when we get there. It's an extremely specific situation.
Oh, we got the instant death there where it didn't matter. Because it was one hit from dead anyway.
Of course, that's when you crit on Behemoth on its last hit.
Yeah. Oh, wrong weapon. So I'm just going to manually hit with the axe. I don't trust Kaylee at all in these fights.
Nice drain crit. James was on the wrong person.
Yep. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter if the drain crits on Kaylee, it'll still kill. Regardless of whether or not it crits, because just the axe does that much damage, but not quite enough to get the one shot.
Interesting.
I think that's another thing we never mentioned, is spells can't crit.
Yeah, no crit spells, no crit bombs, which is... yeah, still, it's
I mean,
a fine exchange for not being able to miss.
It kind of makes sense, but I'd like... Can you imagine oh, I used the sword on accident. Can you imagine a crit flare?
Imagine a crit arrow right into Psycho Shield.
He's just reducing my magic, which doesn't affect exit, because it doesn't actually deal damage.
Yeah, the weapons all have their nice little uses in battle here, but except the axe. We use the axe on what? Snow Crab, and that's it?
We actually, if we enter the final battle at a certain level, we will hold the axe because we don't want stat boosts.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay.
Either the axe or the bombs. I prefer to hold the axe just to give it a little bit of extra screen time.
I guess the bombs do work too. But yeah, let the axe shine a little bit. Because you don't pick up either of the other axes.
Yeah, we never upgrade our axe in this run at all.
One's from a shopkeeper, and then one is a chest in the forest that is way too far out of the way.
Yeah. Of course, we'll get them in 100%, but that ain't us.
This fight is always a 3-sculpture fight, so you always have the danger of getting Doom Danced or whatever.
I've always hated this fight in particular. Because there's no quick, easy way of dealing with it. You just have to spam arrow and pray they don't Doom Dance you. Or Confusion. They also pack Confusion, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, as if instant death wasn't enough, they can cause you to kill yourself.
So here's the boss, and this boss is actually quite straightforward. There's nothing... In fact, you'll get to hear the arrow sound effect a lot in this fight, so I hope you like it.
I really hope you like it. Because all
Because-
3 players. can use
Yeah,
it.
because not only are we both casting it against him, he will also cast it on us. And so now that we've taken out the enemies on the side, we'll switch to the claw because we get bonus damage, and we never outspeed this guy anyway, so the sword doesn't help.
Yeah, he also has a pretty nasty quake. Well, I guess it isn't that bad. Oh, okay, so what I was talking about. Okay, so this guy has a petrification attack, which normally Kaylee would be immune to, but she has the resistances of a different character right now.
Yeah.
Big deal. Anyway, so if you're level 16 in this fight, you have just enough health to survive a full quake on your main character if Kaylee is petrified at the time.
Wow. He's actually spamming Petrify on me.
Oh, wow.
And now Paralysis. Come on, dude.
Yeah. It's a pretty nothing turn because Kaylee can just heal it right away, but it's still
Yeah,
really
but
fun.
it's just annoying. It's just wasted turns where we're not accomplishing anything.
And Kaylee's just above the health threshold to where it would be a double cure on auto.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
I kind of wish she had taken a bit more damage because I would have liked to double heal. Oh, here's good. And I think from here he's either 1 or 2 arrows from dead.
Yeah, the
I've
battle
just accidentally
damage
lifed,
is actually
doesn't
really
matter.
helpful.
This arrow should kill him, unless I'm just completely wrong. Nope. Nice. Yeah, that boss not too difficult. He can troll you, but generally not to the point of really killing you. Because I don't think he's ever actually able to outspeed Kaylee, so in any point, if he petrifies you, you're still pretty safe. And so, what you're meant to be seeing here is the tree walking from one part of the map to the other, but because of the clouds, you just kind of have to take my word for it.
I love this part.
And so, even though we do have the exit spell, we're not going to be using it to exit the dungeon right away. We do want to go out of our way here to pick up an extra spell. We didn't need it for the rest of the dungeon, so there was no point to getting it then, but we absolutely do want it now, because it will make the next dungeon basically trivial.
Yeah, and all the enemies have despawned at this point as well after taking out the boss, so it is definitely the ideal time to come and get it.
Yeah, if we were to come here before killing Ghidra, all the enemies would still have been around, and it just would have taken a lot extra time. But hey, it's a good way to guarantee level 16.
Yeah, for that one in whatever chance.
That I've actually genuinely never been in. Okay, so here we get our first instance of a wizard spell, Meteor. If we were doing 100%, or if we didn't skip Firebug, we would have gotten a different one first. We would have gotten White, but because we skipped it and we go to the giant tree first, we get Meteor, which is either elementless or is an element that no one is weak to or resists. I think it's Earth.
I think it's Earth, yeah, I'm not sure though.
Okay, so we're going to be using Exit a lot here because we want to go in and out of this town a few times. We want to speak to Otto so we can progress in the map, and we also want to come in this house and buy the Cupid locket off this NPC. I don't remember what this does.
I'll tell you what, I'll look it up.
Like, it's just ingrained into my head that I need to be getting it. I genuinely don't remember what it even does. Alright, so going into Mount Gale, the first time you hear this track, and this track is possibly one of the coolest tracks in the game.
Heck yeah. Okay, I've got it. The Cupid locket, it protects you from blind, confuse, and silence. Silence being something
Silence,
that never
oh, thank
actually
God.
hits you.
Yay, we resist silence. Silence, I'm assuming is something that's supposed to prevent you from using magic, but is actually just completely broken and does nothing.
It doesn't work.
Even if you don't
Like-
resist it, it does not work.
Yeah, I want
The
to say some of the
Lamias.
wizard enemies. Oh, the Lamias, yeah. They
The
cast
Lamias.
Muffle, I think it is.
Muffle. The wizards and the Lamias will cast Muffle, and it does absolutely nothing. I think they just straight up forgot to program it, maybe.
That's probably right. But the confusion resistance is definitely helpful, and actually the blind is not too bad. I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're blind anyway.
Yeah, we almost never attack with a weapon that isn't the bombs, so the blindness doesn't really come into effect on the main character.
I guess it would when choosing auto for your partner, because they would try to heal you.
Yes. So you do lose some time in menus, but it's not all that big of a deal. So the strategy for every single encounter in this dungeon is to single target area with Kaylee, so that our meteor can kill the remaining 2 enemies. It also just happens to be the safest strat, because it reduces the enemy count by 1, so there's 1 less attack coming at you. I think now we're actually out of, and we've got 1 more meteor.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate. You don't get your I think you get your 4th wizard charge at level 16.
Yeah, so because we didn't level up to 16 before using a seed, upon leveling up to 16 we're still at 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I think that's right.
But until now the wizard charges have never mattered. And even though Meteor is quite a powerful spell, we actually don't use it all that much. There's just not a lot of encounters after this dungeon where it sees any use. I forgot to use a seed. My bad.
Yeah, and we're about to, well, I say about, but it'll be a while. We're going to absolutely completely outclass Meteor with the next wizard spell we find.
Yeah. And I'm gonna take some time to preemptively talk about the boss we're about to fight, because he has a very interesting strategy you can use on him that doesn't always work, but I always personally like to go for. So we have the heal spell, which heals status ailments, but as you may have noticed with white magic, we can cast them on enemies. If we cast heal on an enemy, it has a small chance of inflicting like a random status ailment. And so we can cast it on this boss to potentially put him to sleep, which we will be going for. I like to go for at least 2 or 3 attempts, and then if it hasn't worked by that point, I just switch to using magic, because if this guy isn't asleep, he can actually be very dangerous, and I have died a number of times to this boss in the past.
Yeah, putting him to sleep just effectively completely skips his turn, so that's super great. Kaylee's going to be feeding seeds to the main character in some boss fights. Actually, like most boss fights from now on, right?
Yeah, including this one. Since we only have 4 charges of Meteor, but it's our strongest damage-dealing spell, we're going to be running out of it a fair few times, so Phoebe and Kaylee are both going to be feeding seeds into us mid-battle a lot. So here's Doom Dance, and it hits. That's fun.
Oh no.
But it didn't hit Kaylee. If that was to hit Kaylee, it would be a death, and we just want to die as quickly as possible to try again. But because it hit the main character, we can just revive him up and he's fine.
Yeah, this is going to be the first boss where you can just randomly be done. That's it.
I totally just got to sleep, actually.
Oh, man.
But every turn, the sleep has a 30% chance to wear off. Alright, sick. I almost never get this to work, actually.
This is great. Meteor does, like, what, double the damage of Arrow, so it's definitely worth using Kaylee's turn to feed a seed to the main character.
So I'm out of... Oh, he's just woken up, but we got a few turns of free damage.
Definitely worth it on any boss that can instantly kill you, which is, what, all of them?
From this point, it's almost every boss has an insta-death attack. Which is basically an instant loss if they ever use it on your partner, since we are incapable of reviving them.
Yeah, and the main character by himself is not going to last very long.
No, very squishy.
They're like, what, half the level they should be or something?
Yeah. Although it is interesting, looking at 100% versus any percent, is you actually don't end the game at that different of a level. I think it's only, like, 1 level higher. But, because we come into this area at such a low level, the XP kind of counts a lot more than it normally does. So we end up leveling up quite a fair bit faster. Okay, it should be 1 more arrow. one more meteor and Dullahan should be dead. I went ahead and defended with Kaylee there, actually. Just to guarantee that meteor will hit, and Dullahan is down. That went alright, actually. It could have gone a lot worse.
The one death was very early in the fight, so I think it's just fine.
Yeah. And ideally, if we ever are in a situation where our partner gets one shot off the face of the planet, we want it to happen like in the very beginning of the fight, so we lose as little time as possible. Unfortunately, the further we go, the bosses get longer and longer, and they can just kill you when they're one hit from dead.
So here Dr. Wily runs off to the basement to cast some thunder stuff.
Yeah, he actually builds a road so we can go up to the next dungeon, but we still want to go back in to Windia to acquire the upgrade to the bombs. Because we skipped Firebug, we never actually upgraded our bombs, but we're going to want to do that to make a few encounters easier.
Yeah, it's actually super convenient that there's a warp between Windia and Firebird, so we can get into Firebird without having to go all the way through the world, and it happens to take us right into the guy's house that gives us the bomb upgrade, which you have to do events and stuff for to unlock there normally.
Yeah, so welcome to the worst dungeon in the game. This is Pazuzu's Tower, the dungeon that I mentioned earlier, way early in the run, that spawns the boss on a random floor, and depending on which floor he spawns on, you can lose upwards of, I think, 11 minutes it was worked out to be. So there are 7 floors in total to this dungeon, and the boss will spawn on every floor until we talk to him, and then after we've talked to him, he will teleport to a random floor between 1 and 6, and then depending on which floor he spawns on, it'll take longer or shorter to actually fight him, because we have to flip switches to prevent him from using the elevator, depending on which floor he's on. So the floors in question is, I've accidentally left it on auto, my bad, is he will not spawn on floor 3, because that's the floor we'll be talking to him from, because it's just faster than floor 1. The fastest floor is floor 6, because it only involves flipping one switch, and it's on the same floor that he's on. In fact, it's right in front of him. Then I think it's actually pretty close as to what's the fastest after 6. I'm not entirely sure. It's either 5 or 1.
I think 5 and 1 are pretty close, yeah.
And then floor 4. But then the absolute worst is floor 2. If you get a floor 2, that's just a straight up 11-minute time loss. It is by far the worst you can get, and a fair amount of runners will just reset upon seeing a floor 2.
I think the difference between floor 2 being the worst and floor 4 being the second worst is like 6 or 7 minutes alone.
Yeah, it's absurd. So, a fun little game, if you want to play along, chat, is just throw your guesses for which floor we're going to get. Either 1, 2, 4, 5, or 6. And I'd like to see what everyone thinks. I'm expecting a lot of floor 2 guesses. Because people are evil.
That'd be so mean.
They like to see pain. So here he is on floor 3, and that's when we're going to talk to him. And there he goes.
So it'll be a little bit before we'll actually know what floor he's on.
Yeah, since the way the dungeon layout works is we don't actually get to see the elevator platforms until we're on our way down. So right now we're climbing up to floor 7, at which point we're going up 2 floors at a time. So we went from floor 1 to floor 3. We're about to go from 3 to 5, and then from 5 to 7. And from there we'll be climbing down each individual floor. And pretty soon we'll be facing what I so eloquently refer to as Death Room, which is so as you saw before, the staircase that goes between 1 and 3 has a little extra room with 3 encounters just to demonstrate you're going up 2 flights of stairs basically. And there is one floor in particular that has 3 of the hardest encounter in the game, which is this encounter right here actually. But it has 3 of them instead of 2. There is no quick way of dealing with these besides casting Life and Exit.
Yeah, and then since those being both single target and the hallway we're coming up to, each of them has 3, so you're always gonna eat at least 1 attack.
Yeah,
but
and
it's not
because
bad.
you're both using white magic, you both have a 10% chance of just missing completely and just completely getting destroyed because they have petrifications, they have confusion, they have fireballs, they have quake. So it's not this hallway, it's the one after it from floor 5 to floor 7.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So, and let's see. They go before Benjamin, right?
The Sphinxes, yes, I believe so.
Yeah. Okay, so you can't even take out 2 of them
Yeah.
before they start slinging their spells around.
And I'm fairly certain there's also no chance of getting a lucky strike first. Like, it's just
That
not
one's
available
fair.
for that encounter.
Yeah.
Also, so these beholders are inflicting blind. They can't inflict it on us because we bought the Cupid locket, but they can inflict it on Kaylee. So we leave her on auto for the entire fight because she'll just use heal to get it off herself. But an interesting little side effect is she'll actually be using our heal potions and not her heal spell, which frees up that inventory space and basically saves us from having to go into the menu and using them ourselves to get rid of them.
Oh yeah, and these guys always all cast blind on the first turn, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's almost guaranteed to happen that Kaylee's gonna have to use a turn to...
You say that, and they all 3 just cast blind on me.
Well, what the heck do I know?
Hey, there was 0 blind on Kaylee,
Amazing.
but there was a self-destruct.
Oh well. It's almost like blind.
Yeah, it's just blind, but instead of facing backwards, you face down.
Yeah, and it heals you after the fight anyway.
Yeah.
So it's better in that
It's
regard.
free 1 health.
So, unfortunately, we can't get high enough in the screen right here to see what floor Pazuzu's on. We still have to go just a little bit around.
Yeah, we're on floor
just
5.
a little bit, but it's actually a lot of bit.
We're on floor 5 at the moment, but we still can't actually see. Like, the way we entered floor 5 from, there's no way to walk upwards enough to be able to see the elevator platform and see if he's on floor 5.
Actually running pretty low on bombs, but it's not going to matter here pretty soon.
Yep, so here's the death room. Here we go. I'm expecting at least 3 deaths here in this room. I've never been lucky enough to have 0 deaths in here. As you can see, they have a pretty good chance of even outspeeding Kaylee.
Something's pretty awkward about the auto-targeting with life, isn't there?
Yes, even though we used life on an enemy and it killed, the next turn it still wants us to cast life on an ally, so we have to move up and retarget again. Whereas Exit is a spell we can only cast on enemies, so it never even tries. But you'll see
you'd be able to cast Exit in battle to just like run away instantly.
Yeah, but no. But another interesting little discrepancy there is life automatically targeted the first enemy because that's how we started last battle.
Oh yeah, that was the other weird thing. It does work if you're starting a new fight.
Yeah, it's strange. There's also some weird trickery with menu memory between deaths. It'll kind of remember where you were when you... Wow, it's instantly double petrified. Instantly double petrified.
Oh, you won.
See? Brutal. Like, there's nothing you can even do about that. You can't heal that afterwards. You don't get a turn to recover. Okay, we got through with 1 death. 1 death. I'll take that. I was expecting to be there for a lot longer.
That's not too bad at all.
And these mage encounters can actually be quite difficult, because they have a lot of very hard-hitting spells.
Yeah,
And
their
Muffle.
Quake will hit both characters for about 300.
They also have Muffle. Very good spell.
Oh yeah, good thing we're immune to it.
Yeah. Oh, that'd suck if we weren't. Okay, so we're going to be using Exit on the weak version of Dullahan because I want life to be cast on the Sphinx so that we just have a chance of Kaylee outspeeding it.
Yeah, these Dullahan enemies, the Thanatos, they actually do have a cure spell, so you want to instantly kill them as much as possible.
They also have their own Doom Dance.
Oh yeah, I guess that's pretty important.
But they generally die really quickly so that Doom Dance isn't a problem. So exit and arrow to take out the mages because they suck.
Yeah, they like throwing in encounters that have just one beholder in them, so haha, you can't, you know, target 3 with arrow or something.
Yeah. So unfortunately we can't really cheese those encounters, unless we like to receive our own arrows to the face. You know, sometimes I'm in the mood for that.
Even if you don't have the arrow spell, I mean, Phoebe still likes to arrow herself when confused sometimes.
Yeah. That's weird.
Oh wait, yeah. I was talking about the bow, but I guess she can cast it, can't she?
She can.
Yeah, auto Phoebe will still cast arrow even though she doesn't have it in her spell list to manually select. It's very strange.
Yeah, I think she just knows metronome.
Oh, there you go.
But there's no menu option for it. She'll just use it in auto and pull out an arrow from nowhere. There's that quake.
Yikes, it's so much damage, dude.
Oh, whoops. Well, I've just accidentally cast an arrow on this guy again. Ow. We're good.
It saved a bomb.
It's RNG minute. It's to ensure floor 6. Alright, we're gonna get floor 6 now. We still can't check for another 3 or so encounters, but, like, we're gonna get a floor 6, so it doesn't matter. There's a lot of arrows there. Again, I really hope you like that sound effect. I could be casting arrow instead of, exit instead of arrow here. Mainly because it's a shorter animation, and I can spare myself from that sound effect. But there's still the 10% chance of it missing, and against encounters like these, I'd really rather play it safe. And as soon as I say that, I just get exploded.
Oh no.
Oh well. Saved a bomb.
Saved a bomb.
Yeah. You die, so you don't have to use a bomb. Thankfully, I've been getting really fortunate with all my exits and lives. Haven't really been getting many misses.
Yeah, outside of the one mummy and then Flamesaur, you really haven't had much issue.
Yeah. And oh, we're out of arrows, but I can just use. I'm out of arrow and exit. That's fun.
Oh.
Okay, I'm gonna run and use a seed there. So this encounter we actually can't kill with double arrow, but we're about to pick up a spell that we can use to kill them in one. We are one more fight away from picking up the strongest spell in the game. It's just in that chest right there.
Yeah, if you thought Meteor was strong, the 5 fights or so we used it for, this is pretty much Meteor for everything.
Yep. Barring the few enemies that resist fire damage. Like there's a boss in the last dungeon that we do still use Meteor on because it resists fire.
Oh, true, yeah.
Flare!
It's been 10,000 years.
Oops.
We finally have Flare.
Yep.
Oh, God, there's another bomb. I forgot about this wall.
Yeah. So now we can just use Flare with the main character and defend with Kaylee. Because there's no point in Kaylee attacking at all.
Yeah, when Flare just can completely shut down 2 enemy groups like this.
Unfortunately, we get the Gather, or the Beholder.
Well, nope. Oh yeah, wizard magics are... I guess not all wizard magics. Flare is always all target, so you can't single target with it.
Yeah. All 3 of them. There's 4 of them, but 3 of them are just like automatically cast to all enemies.
Yeah, Thunder is the only one you would be able to class single target if you really want to.
And we never pick up Thunder, because it's an optional spell from a battlefield.
And we're about to find out if we have the legendary floor 6.
Yeah. Watch this guy cure now. I'm just gonna attack him. Okay. Thankfully Kaylee outsped. So now we go up and flip this switch. Even if we don't get floor 6, it's good to flip it, just in case. And we didn't get floor 6, unfortunately. But now that we've flipped that switch, if we get a floor 4 or 5, we want that switch to be flipped anyway, because it's part of the puzzle, I guess, is what you call it. It is kind of a puzzle dungeon. Oh, I should restore Kaylee's magic. She's out of arrow now.
Well, shucks. That stinks. If Pazuzu happened to be right there, we could just go up and fight him right now. We wouldn't have to do anything else.
Yeah, we'd have to flip that switch, but it's like right there. I don't think I've ever seen it happen in any runs where someone's forgotten to flip that switch, but I reckon I would be the one to do it.
You like go up there and talk to him to fight him, and then he just teleports away because you didn't hit the switch?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think he just goes down to floor 5 then, so like... Speaking of which, no floor 5, since he's not here. So now we've got the option for 2, 4, or 1. Ideally, I'd like to get a floor 1 now.
Yeah, floor 1 was the current best floor, which might be faster than 5. It's very close between the 2.
Yeah. Personally, I prefer 5 because you get... With floor 1, you get the added stress of worrying about whether or not you're about to get a floor 2.
That's true.
But I'd still prefer to get a 1 over a 4, since we can't get a 5 now. I'm out of flares already. I forgot to pay attention to my flares for a moment there, and unfortunately I went into a battle thinking I had one. And now it doesn't matter, because we got a Beholder.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, we're gonna use Arrow first, take out the Garudas. The Garud Sandstorms.
I know, your physical defense. You see how much damage
I've just accidentally used auto arrow again. I swear I'm not normally this bad at the game.
Saves the bomb.
Yeah, I'm just saving bombs, guys.
You need... what, just one more, I think?
Oh, self-destruct, thanks.
Oh, he has bombs too.
Yeah, I'm gonna get rid of that blind. Oh no, don't silence me.
Oh my gosh. Why is that a spell?
I'm sure they just forgot to program it. Okay, no floor 4, so now I'm worried.
Uh-oh.
Because not only is floor 2 exceptionally slow, I don't remember what to do for a floor 2.
Oh gosh.
So I'm really hoping that you do.
Is that so? Okay. Sure, I remember. As I go open up FAQ.
Ooh, whoops. Oh, I've just used the wrong strategy for this fight. I forgot the chimeras are actually resistant to fire. So using flare on them doesn't actually kill them. And it's on these encounters that you'd sometimes use meteor if there's ever 2 of them. which we never actually see in this dungeon because it only ever spawns one, but in a later dungeon we can see encounters with 2 of the chimeras. So here's we're on floor 3, but oh whoops, wrong spot. But the boss can't spawn here since this is where we talk to him. So now we're on floor 2. So we're about to go up and flip a switch and also see whether or not he's here.
Oh man.
Now, they're gonna try to put me to sleep, and they're gonna succeed because they're rude and they don't like me. And now they've petrified me just for, you know, a little extra salt on the wound. Alright, so we've got a floor 2.
Oh.
Oh, how fun. I haven't had a floor 2 in a long time. Of course I'd get it in a marathon. Okay, so yeah, I don't know the strat here actually. I know I have to flip the switch and talk to him, then go to floor 3.
You have to flip a switch on floor 2 and floor 4. And talk to him on floor 2, and then he will end up on 3.
Oh my god. Good dungeon, very good dungeon.
Great dungeon, great speedrun dungeon.
And I'm dead. And blind.
But mostly dead.
Yeah. Well, really, you're kind of all so blind when you're dead. I mean, you can't see anymore.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Alright, time to lose a lot of time. I'm probably gonna go overestimate now.
Yeah, I would imagine so. That's just...
I also don't
Such a
remember
kill.
how to get to him from here.
You have to hit the switch on floor 3, but I don't know how you get to the switch on floor 3.
There is no switch on floor 3. It's only on even numbers.
Oh, you're right. Yes. Floor 4. That's right.
At least I don't have to worry about PBing now. So I know for a fact I have to go up and hit this switch, because this is the floor 4 switch, and I'm pretty sure I then go down the stairs that are south of this room, instead of those ones right next to me, like normal.
See, after you hit the floor 4 switch, it seems like you go back down to the second floor kind of junction area and go downward.
Yeah. I'm gonna kill the Chimera first, so I can still use Flare on the mages. Because I think at my level Meteor might not actually kill the Chimera. So there we flipped the floor 4 switch. I'm pretty sure we go down here. Drain, thank you for the heal.
I'm not sure. I guess we'll see what the next room is. I thought you went back down to the floor 2
no,
junction and then walked down.
I think that goes up. I think that goes up.
I don't think up is... yeah. You want to go back to the center area of floor 2. Where you first saw him. Oh gosh, I don't know if you go down this way.
Yeah, actually I think we do. Oh, there's the life miss.
Well, that happens sometimes.
Doom Dance, it's gonna hit, isn't it? No, okay, it missed. I figured just my luck, now Doom Dance would hit. Because I'm pretty certain that from that part of floor 2, there's actually no way to go around.
There's a junction where you go up to hit the floor 2 switch, but you can also go down there, and that's the way to go.
Oh. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
We'll find out.
It's not a marathon run if things don't go horribly wrong and you forget what you're doing.
It's not a Mystic Quest run in general.
Oh, this is a good encounter. And I think now I might not actually have enough bombs. Because we're probably going to get more... We're probably going to get more Beholder encounters, and I've only got like 2 left.
I don't know where other bomb chests are, other than like the focus tower one that's in the way all the time. Like, because I know you need one for Doom Castle, but I think that's the last required one.
Yeah. Okay, so we're back on floor 2 now.
Uh-oh. I think you might actually have to bomb a wall.
I mean, I can
two.
go out of my way and pick up another bomb later on. Yeah, I see.
We're
I
already
just
kind
saw.
of going out of the way.
I just saw the wall I have to blow up.
Oh, I see it. Yeah. There might be 2 ways to get over here. Actually, this just kind of works.
Whoops! I didn't mean to fire that guy. Just held right for slightly too long. So now we're out of bombs. I really hope we don't fight another gather.
Okay,
Meanwhile,
yeah, this is the right
Kaylee's just been blind the entire way.
I was curious myself, so I went and looked up the speedrun FAQ, and it was just 2 different routes that both ended up here.
Ah, okay. Oh, out of flares too.
Dungeon's a little confusing.
This dungeon just sucks. Oh, nice petrify. It's a good thing silence doesn't work. Can you imagine how scary this place would be if silence actually did work?
Luckily, you have the key to lock it.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're out of bombs, so I just have to attack this guy. So here he is, but we're still not ready to fight him. Because now he teleports away, and now goes up to floor 3, and then it's a very, very long walk around to floor 3.
Yeah, gotta walk all the way back there.
Yeah, there is no quick way to just get to floor 3 from here. Or at least no way of getting to where he is on floor 3. You can get to floor 3, it's just in a different section where it's completely inaccessible. So when I said no more backtracking before, I completely lied.
Yeah, you do not want to cast exit here. Unless you go to floor 1, exit is a good strategy.
If you get a floor 1, exit is part of the strategy to encounter him, because you flip the switch on floor 2 and then just immediately cast exit and re-enter the dungeon, and it will still consider the switches as being flipped.
Yeah, I think that alone is why floor 1 is considered probably the second best, is because you can just do that.
Yeah, because there's zero backtracking at all. Whereas with the floor 5, there's some backtracking. And with the floor 4, there's also slightly more. Basically, floor 4 uses the exact same strategy as floor 5, but you have to fight a few extra enemies and talk to him once. And now we get the added bonus of Pazuzu being, in my personal opinion, the second hardest boss in the entire run.
Oh yeah, that's not an understatement.
Thankfully, he doesn't spawn with any extra enemies to his side. So here, just the strategy is, of course, to immediately get critical hit and die. But it is to cast Flare and Arrow, respectively, and have Kaylee use seeds on us and to heal us whenever we need it. But this fight's actually totally unique in that there's actually legitimately strategy going on, where on the 5th turn of the fight, he will put up a Psych Shield where he'll reflect all magic for 1 turn, and then put it down 1 turn later. And then after he's used it for the first time, he'll use it again every 3 turns. And so we can use the Psych Shield turn to be using seeds.
Yeah, luckily, whenever he does put up the shield, he always goes last that turn, so it's not like you're accidentally going to cast into it.
Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a seed with my main character and have Kaylee heal, because we're on pretty low health. I don't trust Kaylee using a seed and us dying afterwards.
But unfortunately, while his shield is still up, he can still attack.
Yeah, did he put the shield down?
No.
Okay, so I'll attack with Kaylee and use a spell with Benjamin because he does still outspeed us and put the shield down before we can use that spell. But we're dead anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, well.
Oh, and Kaylee's dead now. So this is a loss. Because we're not at the point of the fight where we can kill him in like 2 more hits. We just have to pray he kills us fast. So I'm just going to use Flare into the Psych Shield. Oh, he killed me before anyway. So there's a death, unfortunately. It happened like halfway through the fight though, so not too much loss there. We've already lost so much time that it's kind of just a contest of how much time can we lose. At least we didn't die in the first turn this time. The main issue with this fight is you'll just get attack patterns that require you to just sacrifice Kaylee's turn to heal every single turn, and you lose so much damage. In fact, we've just gotten petrified with Kaylee there. So we have to go for the outspeed and hope he doesn't one-shot us.
Yeah, it's pretty stressful when your partner does get petrified because you have to hope that you go first to heal her before you just get like a one-shot by whatever.
Yeah, he has an attack called, I think it's called Sky Attack, where he just hits both of the party members. But if he uses it while Kaylee's petrified, it will hit one of us, and it will kill instantly because it does double damage. And we just got crit and got killed after being petrified again. Round 3.
Yikes.
Rough fight, and yet it's not the hardest.
Interesting to note that Pazuzu does, whenever he takes the shield down, he has normal turn order, so it's possible for Kaylee to go first, still cast into the shield before he puts it down, and then it'll be reflected. So for that reason, you definitely don't want to have her on auto for casting. Not that I think she would cast anyway.
Yeah, I think just in general, Kaylee outspeeds him more than he outspeeds her. So it's just not worth the risk of using that spell, because you only lose about 700 damage for not using a spell.
Right, but he just does so much damage, it'd be really hard to take that damage and still be okay.
Yeah. There's also the slight chance you get a crit. That doesn't really happen. And speaking of crit, we just got critted. And so now we have to revive rather than using a seed. So slightly more behind now. So I'm gonna use a seed on myself and have Kaylee heal, since we can't afford for her to die. There's also the very real possibility for him to just decide he wants to cast Doom Dance on Kaylee.
Does this guy have Doom Dance?
Actually, no, I don't think he does have Doom Dance, actually. I think it's his reincarnation later that has Doom Dance.
Yeah, that sounds right.
So thankfully Kaylee actually got hit there and was sent to below half health, so we get a full heal this turn.
Nice.
But we accidentally left her on auto. So she lose some damage there because she just hits with the axe. On auto, she doesn't cast arrow on him. Oh, I've accidentally casted Flare on him. So we're dead again.
Oh. Well, there's Psych Shield at work.
Yeah, that's RNG minute. Even though there's nothing to minute for anymore.
all the extra turns you lose in this fight, having to heal and seed, it can really drag on if he just attacks the wrong person at the wrong time.
Yeah, there's also just the very real chance that you need to heal Kaylee, but then he outspeeds and kills her.
Yeah, if you have to seed, but you have to revive before the seed, and you just like lose the entire safe turns, that really cuts into your damage. Just flared so much that you really can't afford not to have as much as you can.
Yeah. So he's just killed the main character as I was about to use a seed, unfortunately. But because of the way life works, is I'm pretty sure that upon revival we'll still use that seed. No, we won't. I don't know the mechanics of how that works entirely. Sometimes when you get revived, you still take your previous action.
Yeah, I think as long as you get revived before it would have been your turn, you still act.
Yeah. And now, 3 turns later, I finally get to use my seed.
Oh my gosh.
And he's... Good timing though, because he just put down Psych Shield.
Oh wow, Hurricane Crit only does 5.
Never mind, he didn't put down Psych Shield.
Oh.
I got so disorganized with having to heal so much that I thought he put it down, but he put it up, and now we're dead again.
Oh.
I'm crumbling!
This guy's getting into your head.
He
Don't
is.
let him.
Sometimes he just gets in your head, man. Look at that face. How can you not have nightmares about that face?
I do, let me tell you.
I have nightmares about a different face that looks slightly similar.
A little more red.
Yeah, a little more red. Getting a slightly better attack pattern this time around though. He's primarily attacking Kaylee, but not for much damage. So this is the Psych Shield turn, I believe. And we've gotten a fair few arrows off on him. Yeah, we outsped, which means this is a Psych Shield turn.
I really love the battle damage in this game. I love
Come
the
on,
giant...
dude.
I love the... Oh, jeez. Yeah, unfortunately you can't seed if they're petrified, right?
Nope, can't do anything. He really doesn't want me to... There we go, I managed to get the seed. And now I can't remember if he's got Psych Shield down or not.
Oh crap.
I'm just
I
gonna
haven't
attack.
paid attention.
I'm gonna attack. Yeah, we outsped. So he's just put it up.
Oh, I see.
That's how many turns we lost there, he just put it up.
Oh my god.
Unfortunately, there's no message to differentiate whether or not he puts it up or down. So, basically when he puts it up or down, it'll just say he used Psych Shield.
I think Psych Shield is down, is the message when it goes down.
Is it?
You normally just get messages so fast that it's
Yeah.
really hard to notice.
Because you're mashing so fast. Oh yeah, it does say he's down.
That's good. I just wish the animation would be a little different. That'd be a little helpful.
I wish it was a little shorter. It'd be cool if, like Pokemon, you could turn animations off. But then I think this game is dull enough. As it is.
Yeah. I would miss the...
Oh. The arrow sound effect, good lord. Okay, so he's put Psych Shield up, but he's pretty close to death. Interesting thing about Pazuzu is because he has a custom sprite for putting up Psych Shield, is he doesn't have 4 sprites to display his health. He only has 3. Because I don't think we've ever actually talked about it, but you'll notice that enemies, there's no health bar for enemies, but they'll change their sprite based on how much health they have left. For regular enemies, they just have 2 stages. For mid-bosses and reincarnations of mid-bosses, they have 3. And major bosses have 4. But because Pazuzu has his ducking one for Psych Shield, they couldn't use it for a 4th stage of health, so he only has 3, like a lot of mid-bosses. And we finally killed him.
Whoa. Man, oh man.
Alright, so if we can finish the game in 3 minutes, I PB, but it's not gonna happen. I'm actually not sure if we can beat my estimate time. I thought I was being generous with that estimate too.
I don't think you're gonna get through Doom Castle in 10 minutes.
No. Also, that chest contains the key for the next tower room, but we actually don't need to get it because we already have it from the inventory glitches before, so we can just exit straight away.
Yeah, you can pick it up, I think, and it doesn't mess up anything, but it also, there's really no reason to.
So now that our heal potions are gone, we can go in and buy a stack of 0 cure potions, but we absolutely do not want to use it yet because we will soft lock the game.
Don't use it.
So now we've got the potions. We talk to Otto, and Kaylee will leave our party, and Ruben will rejoin. Well, I say rejoin. Technically, we're getting him for the first time. But the game thinks it's the second. And I'm sorry to any Ruben fans out there, but he's not going to be doing much. So now we have a fetch quest to get some Thunder Rock for this guy, but after using these cure potions, we underflow our inventory and just get the Thunder Rocks. We can just turn around and just give him the Thunder Rock right away.
Yeah, if you use those cure potions to get the Thunder Rock before Kaylee leaves your party, I'm pretty sure she just won't leave your party, right? Or at least you can't get Ruben.
Yeah, you can't get Ruben if you glitch the Thunder Rock in your inventory before seeing that cutscene. I believe it's because when you have Thunder Rock, you trigger the cutscene to give it to Spencer, but because of that, it skips the cutscene for spawning Ruben. Wait, what am I doing?
Don't forget that you do need a bomb as well.
Oh, that's right, I do need a bomb.
I don't know the best place to get it, but...
I'm gonna have to go out of my way to just pick up some bombs real quick, so I'm just gonna go to the Focus Tower. I hate to do this, but... unfortunately, we got full 2.
There might be a chest in Mac's ship that has one, but I don't know how far out of the way it would be.
I'd rather not rummage through every single chest.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, I agree with that. Yeah, this one isn't too bad.
We can exit out. Fun fact about any chest that contains bombs, if we have a party member that has a ranged weapon that has ammo, the bomb chests will instead contain their arrows. So if we had Phoebe, we'd get 10 arrows from that chest. If we had Ruben, we'd get 10 ninja stars. So thankfully, I never thought I'd say this, but thankfully we have Ruben.
He's the most delicious party member.
Delicious?
Yeah, Ruben sandwich.
Ooh. So now we go up to the ship. No, we don't, because I forgot to talk to Kaylee and get the captain's cap.
Oh no. I wonder if one of those chests right there had a bomb in it.
You know, they probably do. You know, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit that's not the first time I've forgotten to collect the captain's cap.
I have forgotten as well. There's a lot of small little plot triggers around this area, and it's always in Otto's house.
I think just overall Windia holds the record for the amount of times you cast exit out of it.
Yeah, I want to walk slightly out of this house. Well, let's cast exit, and everything looks the same again. Which plot trigger am I on
unfortunately,
again?
we need the captain's cap to just be able to enter the ship.
Alright, so here's a pretty short little dungeon here. There's like maybe 5 encounters is all, and the enemies aren't too bad. But...
I missed life. Thanks, Ruben.
Oh no, unless that happens.
I'm just gonna reset the fight.
Yeah, even though Ruben is mainly a physical attacker, all your partners always have the life spell, so he can still be useful in this situation.
Yeah, and even though he is a melee attacker, he's not a good one.
Oh yeah, he is white, I forgot.
He does have white, but there's not many fights where it's actually all that useful.
Yeah, it
Where
doesn't even
it's-
take out
Yeah,
these two enemies.
where it's more
Okay.
worthwhile to cast life with him and then use flare just because it does overall more damage. But for the most part, you'll just see him defending whenever we're against two enemies.
Ooh, the two Thanatos is much better than the other encounter that can be right here.
Yeah, I think the other encounter's with a Chimera, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's the
probably
one with
is.
the Sphinx and the Beholder.
Oh, yeah, okay, that sounds worse.
That is worse. At least I've got bombs now. I've actually never had that happen where I've run out of bombs in Pazuzu's tower. That's a first for me. Clearly there's just one moment where I forgot to pick up a chest of bombs.
We even had like oh gosh, the safety saved a bomb because Ben died.
We had multiple of them. It happened multiple times where we saved a bomb because they either used self-destruct or I accidentally casted a spell on them.
And is that the last encounter?
I believe so.
Oh yeah, this guy right here. I forgot about him. But just like all the others,
They get burned.
life and life and flare.
And so with that, we're done with this dungeon. But we're going to pick up this armor. I don't remember what it does, but it's important.
It gives you wind resistance.
Ah, yeah. It's also right there, so there's no point in not getting it. And thankfully we don't have to cast exit because we are just automatically TP'd out of here. And now we get to say goodbye to the second worst party member, to say hello to the by far the best. Like, Kaylee's cool and all, but we're about to get second Phoebe.
Oh, it also gives you sleep resistance. I had to check because I wasn't actually sure.
Ooh, that would have been helpful before. I would have liked that. Wait, no, it's not in Otto. Wow, for once something isn't in Otto's house. I forgot this one's in the inn. There's also just a little trick here that I really like. The fact that we have to go upstairs and talk to a guy, but it's faster to actually heal at the inn.
Oh yeah, because you don't have to menu for a later to see it or anything.
Because we just get teleported up into the bed right next to Captain Mac. And with that, we can now finally enter the final dungeon.
Does Phoebe gain any new tricks since the last time? I think she gets Blizzard.
Well, she kind of gets Arrow, even though we can't cast it ourselves. But she gets White.
Oh, that's right, yeah. That one's actually strong.
White is what we will mostly be using with her. It's basically Flare, but slightly weaker with no element to it at all. So there's nothing that's weak to it, but there's also... Whoops, I went in the ship again. There's nothing that's weak to it, but there's also nothing that resists it. Welcome to the Doom Castle. You should decide for me, am I getting the Aegis Shield?
It'll add another minute.
I'm gonna get it, because I can definitely lose more than a minute. I don't remember the strat for this fight. So, oh, he's self-destructed, that helps. Never mind, I'm good.
I think it's single target Blizzard or Thunder, and then Flare.
I think it's actually different because I got floor 2 and now I'm level 21.
Oh, you mean for the final boss?
No, for the Shadow guys. Because it's actually different if you're level 21. I'm gonna get the Aegis Shadow. And I only just realized I did not have my notes open. They would have helped.
Strike first, that was nice of them. After all this.
Yep.
These Shadow guys, they have Doom Dance and can clone themselves.
Yeah. Shadow clone jutsu, dude.
Alright, the Aegis Shield. It takes about a minute. It's about a minute time loss to get it, but that does give us the all-important petrification resistance, which there are quite a few enemies that can do from this
Yeah.
point on.
So, I think it's no longer really spoiler alert territory. The final dungeon of this game, the Doom Castle, is basically a boss rush, where there's going to be a clone of every major boss we've fought, including along with enemies from that boss's dungeon. So right now we're in like the Bone Dungeon area, and fun fact, the first two bosses here can be killed with Exit.
Yeah, for some reason they just don't have the boss flag, so you can just instant kill them.
Just completely screwing up my menu there. No biggie. Exit's gonna miss, I'm calling it right now. Okay, we're good. There we go, easy boss. Unfortunately, Phoebe actually did take quite a beating there.
I believe you can also cast life on that one specifically.
Yeah, you can cast life on Skullrus Rex, but you can't use life on the Stone Golem.
Right.
But that's just because of the whole issue with undead flags again. It's very inconsistent to however you think it might work. And here's the dogs I always feel bad for killing. I hate killing these dogs.
The Cerberus that are weak to fire.
The Cerberus, but like, when they're damaged, they hold up a little white flag. Like, look, they surrender. I don't want to kill them, but then I have to kill them, because it won't let me progress unless I do.
They look even cuter on the overworld.
Oh,
with
their
just like three
overworld
cotton balls.
sprite. Fun fact, their overworld sprite is one of my Twitch chat emotes.
Oh, is it really nice?
Yes. It's my tier 3 one, I believe, just because... Yeah, it just became a thing, like, we all felt bad about killing the little dog.
I do like how they have a skill that's just called Bark.
Yeah, well, that's a very important skill to have if you're a cute little dog.
The movement tech on this screen is actually pretty neat. There's like movement tech in a tile-based RPG. Knowing when you can Dragon Claw early or not.
Oh, of course I'm Dragon Claw, yeah. Dragon Clawing early. I'm all about the style, the grace.
The current run is mine based.
Shh. I blame Pazuzu. Not my fault.
Oh, I love when you get the snow crabs because you like always strike first against them.
Yeah.
It like lowers the enemy's average speed enough. If that is indeed what causes it, I got no idea. Or maybe it's like enemy in a certain position.
I think it's a level threshold based on the enemy type. Like the sprite type.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that would make a little more sense too. Because that one specifically, I feel like is always a strike first, and that would do it.
Because it's an enemy from the Ice Pyramid, which is however many dungeons ago. Like at this point, it's a ludicrous amount of dungeons ago. So you get one more encounter before the boss, and okay, so even though I forgot to use a seed, but even though we're about to fight a boss that can be killed by exit, you can still die here to this boss.
Yeah, the dogs.
It's definitely possible to die to the Snow Golem because of the little dogs he's got with him.
Luckily, pick up the Aegis Shield though, so it shouldn't be too bad.
Yeah,
I
we
guess
resist
if
their
you get
petrification, but they do still have Doom Dance.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Unfortunately, we can't use life on this guy, so we can't alter our turn order. I'm just going to be single casting fire with Phoebe, just to take it safe, not leave two of them alive at once. And we're good.
Nice.
Thanks, Phoebe.
I don't know what happens.
She got confused
Park.
and used white on the party. Oh my god. That's the most brutal death I've ever had there.
Mystic Quest.
Welcome to Mystic Quest, guys. Isn't this just such a great game?
And we're good.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this game, dude.
Okay, no, that was just dumb. That was the funny kind of dumb. I'm okay with that dumb. I'm not okay with that, actually. No, that was just bad.
Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna get over that. It's pretty good.
Oh, whoops.
So here's the lava area that we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
Because
Because we completely skipped Fireberg and Phoebe just missed her arrow shot, thank you. And here's the overworld sprite for the dogs, look at that. Look at that.
Oh, don't hurt him.
I have to. Oh, I forgot Fire is a terrible spell.
Does dual cast fire not take them out, even though they're weak to?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I've got Flare going, I just thought that might do something.
Why are they in the volcano then?
Yeah, you'd think that enemies in a volcano wouldn't be weak to fire.
Maybe it's like cheese sauce or something.
It does kind of look like a nacho kind of cheese sauce.
There you go.
I'm gonna fight this enemy now because we don't have to fight it just yet, but we're gonna have to kill it on the way to exit, so we may as well kill it now. I'm actually out of flare, and they're not letting me run away. Okay, we're good. Oh, okay. Good thing we picked up the Aegis shield. They attempted to petrify us.
Oh.
Oh, here's the confusion. Okay, this time it wasn't white on the party.
Oh wow, yeah, flare still takes him out, even if there's 3. Of course it does. It's frickin' flare, dude. It's amazing.
We're still out of white, so I'm just gonna be using the bow of arrow because I can't be bothered menuing.
Oh, does she not have any wizards?
We gotta strike first anyway. She's out of wizards. Well, I wasn't concerned there. And now we've got the boss.
This boss is actually super dangerous because we don't
Yeah.
have fire resistance, and he does some insane fire damage.
Funnily enough, as much as I talk about how brutal the second last fight of this run is, which is the Pazuzu clone, we skip the major fire area in any percent. We're doing 100%. This boss in that dungeon, I would argue, is actually significantly harder than Zoo.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah, this is
so
the boss.
This guy stinks.
Yeah, this is the boss that we have to be using Meteor on because he resists fire.
Yeah, he has a poison attack, which kind of messes with your auto, because Phoebe loves to cure it off.
Yeah. I'm
he's
going to be
really
manually
nasty
casting
dual fire
Life with Phoebe just to heal her to full and get rid of the poison. But now I'm going to have to use life on main character as well. Nah, this fight isn't nearly as hard as his base version in 100%.
Get some nice thunders on Phoebe. He gets thunder on Phoebe 3 times in a row.
Yep.
What a jump.
There we go. And now let's
What was I saying?
Let's
Oh,
not
easy.
cast exit. Yeah, that's the boss that in that bad run once I accidentally cast exit after beating him.
At least there wouldn't be too many extra fights. I guess you just have to go through the sand area again.
No, but it oh yeah, I guess these paths would still be open.
Yeah, I mean it's still annoying that we're
Yeah. So this is like Death Room 2.0. Every single encounter in this room can and most likely will kill you, especially if you don't have the Aegis shield, because they all have petrification. And there's fights with double chimeras. It's just an all-around terrible time. Wow, I almost never see a snow crab in here.
Oh, what the heck?
We just outsped Phoebe. That's new. Oh yeah, and also because we go to floor 2, we're going to be a different level than normal for the final boss, so the strategy is going to be slightly different. And I'm not going to remember it.
Yeah, there's strategies for like 4 different levels for the final boss, depending on just kind of how things go. Yeah, getting that floor 2 is really going to push you higher because of all the extra encounters you have.
Yeah, we're going to be level 23 going into the final boss, as opposed to the normal 22, or 21 if you get floor 6. And the strategy is different for everyone. Also, kind of a spoiler alert, the final boss is a complete total pushover. The real final boss is the Pazuzu clone that we're going to fight in not too long. We just got Doom Danced, that's fun. Alright, come on Phoebe, you can do it. Yeah, she did it.
Alright, I pulled up strats from levels 21 to 24 if you need them.
Splendid. I can't see myself ever needing 24.
Well, 21, 2, and 3 are all the same.
Oh. Oh no, it's level 20 that you end up, I think, with the floor 6. Oh, he's used Cure, don't do that.
That's what you don't want to see. That's why it's really difficult. I don't know, you can like single thunder those guys if you want to, but I don't know.
It's not
But
worth
then
it
Meteor.
in these
Yeah.
fights. That's probably what I'm gonna do in the Zoo fight, because unlike Pazuzu, he actually does have allies that spawn with him. Just another bonus of what makes that fight so much harder. Also the addition of Doom Dance. Everyone's favorite neighborhood spell. Also, it may not really look like it when, like in a speedrun and you know the perfect route, but this room can actually be quite the maze.
The mind maze, you could say.
That's the game we're playing. Okay, once again I forgot to use a seed, so I'm trying to run. the further you progress in the game, the harder it is to run from fights.
Why all three of those guys attacked Ben and he didn't die and
why
resisted
do I keep
everything?
getting freezer crabs? I think I actually genuinely forgot that freezer crabs could be here because I almost never see them. And yet they're appearing almost every encounter. Why couldn't I get that in my PB? Would have saved so much time.
You just don't do anything, I love it.
Well, I imagine they'd try to do something if you didn't outspeed them every single time.
I don't know, like in the way of like status effects that they might have or anything.
Doom Dance.
Snow crabs probably have Doom Dance.
Well, we always one-shot them in Ice Pyramid. What if we just don't know?
Alright,
Okay,
so
here we
the
go.
zoo fight really stings.
So this is the second last fight of the run, and the hardest fight in the run by far. I'm actually not going to go for the safe strat here, because I'm not about that life. I actually totally am, but I always forget the safe strat. Thankfully he didn't use Cure. Okay, so they're dead. Another difference with Zoo that can potentially make him easier is the fact that for some... There you go, you just saw it there. They added Psych Shield to his actual attacks that he can use. I'm presuming by accident. And because it has no real data on it, it just does 0. It just does 1 damage.
I think it's, I vaguely remember hearing it's some sort of bugged defense down attack that just doesn't exist. So thankfully it can give you a moment of reprieve from his awful attacks.
Yeah, so this can actually like either be the hardest or the easiest fight, depending on what you get. But more often than not, you're gonna get like destroyed.
Yeah, he has a lot less health than Pazuzu does, but the addition to Doom Dance is really awful, and he's already almost dead.
Yeah. So now Doom Dance is gonna...
low.
Now Doom Dance. Now Psych Shield's gonna come back up, gonna have Phoebe heal. It's gonna come back down. I think 2 more hits and he's dead. He's just used Psych Shield again. I think this is by far the easiest zoo fight I've ever had in my life.
Oh, free as heck. Psych Shield hit there.
And on the very last turn, another Psych Shield. He's dead here. Yep. Wow, are you kidding me? That's
amazing.
actually... I've been running this game for about 2.5 years now. That is legitimately the easiest zoo fight I've ever had.
Easy video game. The game is apologizing to you.
And so now it's actually faster to fall and exit through the lava room than it is to trek all the way back. And so even though I'm level 23, I'm holding the axe for the last boss, am I?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
Even though I'm level 23, I want to be holding the axe here, yeah?
Level 23, you look like you need to have the axe or bombs equipped, yes?
Sweet. Axe gets some screen time. Everybody's not favorite weapon. Okay, so do you want to try and explain why Dark King is broken? Because I can't really do it justice.
Because this game can't math very well.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just Super Nintendo, I don't know. So what Cure is doing here is Cure heals for like half your HP plus a modifier based on your magic, I think is what it is. And it's really just overflowing his health into damage. The reason we have to have the axe equipped is that we actually need our magic stat to be very specific. If you had the Dragonclaw equipped, this
Also
strategy
time.
would not work. Also time.
Yeah, time is done from we get the last hit on the Dark King. He's literally a 3-turn win. He can troll you sometimes, but he generally doesn't. So I very much apologize for going so long over Estimate, but I've never had that bad of a run in my life. Thank you so much, Mikan, for helping commentate this. Thank you
Yeah, no problem. I
everybody
had a lot of fun.
everybody for putting up with me and this terrible RNG, and I hope you've learned why you should run this game and why you shouldn't run this game. Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.